Here, let's sit where we're both kind of in the screen. How's that look?
That looks
Can we
good.
look at each other? All right.
All right. Now hopefully it'll pick up the sound here. What do you think? Think it looks all right?
It should pick up the sound.
Yeah.
If not, too bad.
All
They can
right.
read our lips.
Sounds good. All right. You ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay. So what can you tell me about the Adityas?
Okay, the Adityas. The Adityas are the son of Diti. Okay, so Diti means the boundless. So imagine we got this circle, and it's boundless. It's a perfect circle. So Aditi represents, she's like the Divine Mother. So she's boundless. And so many things came out of Aditi, but the most important, of course, is the 12 Adityas. So when we take that circle, which is the ecliptic, cut it into 12 parts, we get 12 Adityas.
Okay.
And so we can say that each of the zodiac spaces of 30 degrees is not only a sign of the zodiac, but it's also a particular Aditya. And what's really cool about these Adityas, a lot of people have heard about them, like Vishnu is an Aditya, Indra is an Aditya, Varuna is an Aditya. There's all these basically aspects of the sun. And what Aditya means, it basically means of Aditi. So when we take the circle and we break it into 12 parts, Aditi is the circle, break it into 12 parts, now we have 12 parts that are of Aditi. And at that point we can start comprehending the circle one little piece at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And we can start living at, as we live as beings, we're really living parts of this circle. So depending where you have your sun or where your planets, you're living out just a part of that circle based on, the 30-degree section, which is the sign or the Aditya, but also based on the exact placement you have a planet or your ascendant. You're only living out that part of the circle. God or Diti in this context is the complete circle.
Mm-hmm.
And each of us are just living out a little tiny fragment based on the specific positions of our planets.
So our planets are working through those energies.
Well, our planets are the grahas.
Mm-hmm.
Graha means to capture. So they're capturing this aspect of God and crystallizing it into us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
Well,
graha is not a good word.
All right.
It's like capture. It's capturing this little energy of the circle. Why does that suck? Because the circle itself is this continuous field of energy and motion of the divine. The minute we start capturing bits and pieces, we're stuck in ignorance on some level. And so it's through the planets being in certain positions that we become limited beings. If we were in a universe where there was no planets, we would have maybe all that available to us.
Right.
But it wouldn't ever happen. But you know what I mean? Is that the circle is what we're after. Mm-hmm. The planets are kind of what limit us to a particular narrow experience of that circle. And one of the great ways to look at this, in fact, probably the oldest way, Hindu way to look at this, is through the Adityas. Through not using the signs Aries, Taurus, Gemini, but using the Adityas. And each of these Adityas travels with a bunch of, they have a retinue. Mm-hmm. So they travel with an Apsara, a Gandharva, a Rakshasa, a Rishi, a Naga, and a Yaksha, which is a nature spirit. And so every 30-degree arc of the zodiac circle, has these 7 beings attached to it, which give us a whole nother level of symbolism to work with, which is, free of any Western, Greek, Persian influence. It's just old to Hinduism. And so it's just a whole nother way to work with the zodiac, basically.
So how do they relate to the chakras, or do they?
Well, you can relate them to the chakras the same way you can relate the signs. You can say, okay, these Adityas relate to these signs, but I'm not going to get into that now because that's going to cause too much trouble.
all right. So then being limited by the planets and the positions where the Adityas, the fields of the Adityas manifest, mm-hmm. That's just our karma, right?
Well, I don't even want to call it karma.
Okay.
Karma is what we're going to do mostly. Karma means action, right?
Action, yeah.
So it's really crystallizing our experience of the divine.
Our perception?
It's really you can call it the perception, but I wouldn't use either of those actually. It's how the divine is expressing through us. So the divine is never going to express completely through any individual. It's going to express in a crystallized, comparatively narrow way. Mm-hmm. And that's based on where our planets are, right? It's saying, okay, this is the quality of love, this is the quality of this is the little bits and pieces of possibilities that this particular individual is going to express. And that's what we're looking at when we look at a horoscope.
Okay. So we're not looking at karma.
We're looking at karma too. I mean, based on that, the person's going to do certain things, right? Based on why those positions are there, we like to think that, okay, you got there through karma. Who knows, right? That's the theory, but we do know that we can look at the chart and say, oh, this is the way you're going to behave. This is the way you're going to act. Mm-hmm. So we certainly can see the karmas the person's engaging in.
Right.
And so you can call it karma.
Okay. So
I always don't think about that much karma that much when I deal with astrology, because I don't think it's that necessary to look at it in that context too much, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the karma we're doing in the moment. I mean, everything else is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And you're sure there's all these ideas about karma and da-da-da-da, but none of those things are relevant to what does matter, which is the karma we're doing in the moment. So when I think of karma, I think, okay, the only karma that matters is the karma I'm doing now. And so we try to do a good job of the karma in the moment. What else do we need to do? We don't need to know why we got to this shitty or good moment. So, well, how did I get to in front of this great girl? Or how did this great girl, throw me out of the house and all of a sudden my suitcase landed on my head? We don't need to know why we got there. We just need to do, okay, in this moment, how am I going to handle this? What kind of karma am I going to do now? So I look at karma from a useful point of view is, okay, what can we do in this moment? So we don't need astrology to act in the moment. We just need to act in the moment. But astrology can help us understand why we act often in the moments in ways we don't really like. Mm. So we look at their avashtas and we see a person starved on some particular planet, and they're constantly overreacting to things and therefore screwing things up in their life. Mm-hmm. Okay, why do they always do that? Why are they overreacting that way? Well, okay, you got this avashta causing you to overact this way because when this type of situations happen, all these buttons get pushed or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we can help the person start connecting to the causative forces within them that are causing them to do karmas that aren't productive to their goals.
And so these can be tied to the energies within the Adityas, like the retinue and those kinds of things, so they help?
If you want to add the Aditya symbology, you can. Just the same way you can, add the symbols of the signs, but you don't need to. Okay. Like if we say, okay, here's Venus and Venus is starved, mm-hmm. we can say, okay, because starved at Venus, it's going to behave a certain way. But then we can say, okay. that's the most important thing. Okay. Then we can add lots of details to it. And we can add details and we can say, because of you feel stuck in this type of way based on the sign. So all those things help us add multiple levels of detail to help a person understand. But the basic thing is, if someone has a starred Venus, they have a starred Venus, or a starred Jupiter, they have a starred Jupiter. Mm-hmm. That's the fulcrum of it all. Mm-hmm. But what all the details surrounding that, it can be really helpful to connect to that by using the signs or using the Adityas, because it gives them a frame of reference for their conscious mind to start making sense of everything they're going through, everything they're doing. And when their conscious mind can start to get an idea of the picture, it can start saying, okay, I want to adapt this picture a little bit. And then it can better do it because it gives you something to work with, basically, and a place to come from.
So does it help give the bigger picture? I mean, if you can see it from the bigger picture, then
sure.
You're more.
You can look at the bigger picture, but you can also look at the smaller picture. That's the beauty of astrology. You can look at the picture that you need to look at.
So how important is it to look at the bigger picture?
I mean,
like if you're in just a shitty situation,
it's really important to look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
But I have a big Jupiter. Some people don't have a big Jupiter. Okay. So it's not that important for them to look at the big picture.
It's not important because it's actually not important?
Because they're not going to really work well in the context of the big picture sometimes. Some people don't work well in the context of the big picture, right? Okay. So you start telling them the bigger picture is, and they're ready to storm out on you, right? You say, maybe just look at it in the bigger picture. Some people need to know the small picture. Uh-huh. Okay, what little thing do I just have to... What word should I say differently? Mm-hmm. What do I need to go tell my wife? Well, the bigger picture is, no, just go tell your wife this. That's the smaller picture. Okay. So we can do either the bigger or the smaller picture, depending on what the person's needs. Well, the Jupiter will have a big context. See, people with strong Jupiters, when they get the bigger picture, things start falling into place and they can figure it out. But people, if they don't have a good Jupiter and you give them the bigger picture, it could just feel really overwhelming. And it's like, okay, give me the details. I need to work on the level of detail more. Either way you look at it, it comes down to it. The person's life going to change if they change their behavior. Mm-hmm. And whether that behavior changes because they grasp the bigger picture or because they grasp the importance of the little thing, the little picture that needs to be done. It doesn't matter which way you're coming from. Mm-hmm. Is it a Mercury way or is it Jupiter way? They both work.
Mercury's the little picture.
Mercury's the little picture.
Okay. So a person could potentially have an astrologer look at their chart and help them determine which picture would be best for them.
They could. They could work. They go, oh, you have a strong Mercury and a, not so good at Jupiter, so we're going to focus on the little picture. So you could do that. I don't do that. I just see what I do.
Because you're in the moment.
Yeah.
Not worried about the karma.
I mean, no, I'm not. It's really the chart.